All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Soul Meets Heart, podcast for your soul. My guest today carries a story that starts with loss and ends with purpose. He lost his father at a very young age to a car accident, went on to do everything right, got the engineering degree from WPI, an MBA, corporate career, put him in the top global percentage of earners, and from the outside he had it all in. And then at 26, which by the way, you don't even look a day over 26, he got into a near fatal car accident of his own, the same way his father died, and it cracked him wide open. And I think that's when he asked himself, if this were it, did I live my life true to myself? And kind of restarted and rebuilt from there. Today he leads a global team, hosts one of the world's top 100 personal development podcasts, over 2,300 episodes, and listeners in over 180 different countries, over 12,000 hours of coaching, and is on a mission to help people reach their next level in health, wealth, and love. Please welcome to the show, Alan Lazaros of Next Level University.
Wow. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Hell of an intro. It's just interesting to have lived it versus hearing it. You condensed 37 years into 3 minutes,
Yeah.
No, seriously though, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for everyone listening. I think the 21st century is alarmingly noisy with a lot of nonsense, quite frankly, and I won't waste a second of anyone's time. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you coming on. And first off, I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing to help people, to be a light in people's journey when everyone is got a different path and encounters darkness. It's always nice to have light out there in the world. So thank you for yours. We have two traditions here on the podcast before we begin. The first one is we do a quick little meditation. It's super simple. All you got to do is breathe in and breathe out. And when we inhale, we're going to inhale love, 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 love. And then we're going to exhale gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There you go. Awesome. The second tradition, Alan, is we actually have the previous guest leave you a positive message without knowing who it's going to be for. So
Cool.
hopefully it lands. And if it doesn't, hopefully one of our listeners today, it lands with them. But the positive message that they left for you is, when things get hard, believe in yourself and don't let anybody doubt you or tell you that you cannot do something. Everything is possible when you have the right mindset and you surround yourself with the right people, and everything can happen for you so long as you choose it and you make that decision to do what's best for you.
Very nice.
Awesome. Thank you for being here today. And now we can get started with my questions.
So far, so good. It was a strong, compelling thing to share at the end. At the end of this, am I going to be giving a message to the next guest?
Yes. And
Cool.
you won't know who it's going to be, but they'll get your message nonetheless.
I love it.
So you built your life like an engineer, systems, optimization, outcomes you can measure, but personal development can be messy, can be spiritual, hard to quantify. How do those two parts coexist now? Or have they merged into something completely different entirely?
Yeah. So I just got off a master class that I host every month, the first Thursday of every month. So happy June, everyone. June 2026. And we did a analysis, what I call a success set point. In order to be successful, I don't just mean external financial success, but I mean successful at life. We all have to be developed in three main areas. It's my thesis anyways. Personal development, you have to know yourself. Social development, you have to understand others. And then professional development, goals, metrics, habits, knowledge, skills. And all three of them we all have, but we always have one that is natural for us and one that is usually avoided or hard for us. So the natural one for me was professional development. Straight A student, top engineering school, MBA, the whole nine. And I didn't realize this at the time, because I think at the time you think it's hard, but it's not in comparison to others. So that kind of stuff came very naturally to me. What didn't come naturally is the personal development side. So personal development I avoided for a long time, unconsciously, subconsciously, because of all the pain in my past. You mentioned my birth father's death. I had a stepfather named Steve Lazaros from age 3 to 14. from 1992 to the early 2000s. He left my family, took his entire extended family with him. I kind of lost 3 families by the time I was 14. That's kind of a whole story. That's a very high level thing to say. And I could go into that, but it would take probably at least 5 or 10 minutes. And I don't want to waste anyone's time with that. But what I will say is that I avoided the pain of facing a lot of that. So naturally I was goals, 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 dreams, 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 metrics, habits, external achievement. And so you asked me a question about personal development, engineering your life, and then spirituality and some of the more squishy metrics of intangible metrics with spirituality. So I broke it down, of course, as an engineer, I break everything down. I think we all have 4 parts of our nature, and these fit into the other Venn diagram of personal development, social development, and professional development. So I do physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So there's a physical part of us. There's a mental, cognitive part of us. There's an emotional part of us, subconscious. And then there's the spiritual, the soul. Okay. And you need to connect with all 4 of those parts of your nature. And for a long time, I wasn't. And I was very head heavy, very cognitive, very prefrontal cortex heavy. Mm-hmm. And so now I think a good metaphor is we're all in a car and there's 4 parts of you in the car. And which part of you is driving. So I'm what I call an MPES. So mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, in that order. And my spiritual side didn't really have a say before. Those whispers, I didn't listen. After 26, my car accident that you mentioned, sort of the second chance my birth father never got, I started really listening to those whispers and really letting my spiritual side have a say. My head always had a say, because people used to say, well, don't forget to follow your heart. And I always used to say, yeah, but don't forget to listen to your brain. Right? And so now I have a saying, it's like, in business, listen to your brain. When it comes to like love and people, you got to listen to your heart. When it comes to alignment, you got to listen to your soul. So you got to integrate all these parts of your nature. And a lot of times they're in conflict, particularly growing up. When you grow up in an environment that wires you and conditions you a certain way, it's not necessarily optimal.
What are some of the things that are signs that you can pick up to know who's driving that car?
Wow. So if you're head heavy, you are constantly strategizing more than taking action. If you're heart heavy, you love people and you love building relationships, but you probably don't have very clear, concise, measurable goals. And you're very creative. You like to draw and you're experience driven. So a head heavy person is counting the milligrams of caffeine in the coffee. The heart heavy person is making sure there's mocha, frap on it. Right. And so we both care about both, but which one drives? Soul heavy means that you are probably a very free spirit. You probably can't stand structure, and you probably spend your life very present. And if you are physical heavy, you are an animal, an athlete, just a goddamn animal. And the truth is, you need all 4.
Yeah.
I always say this: bear coming at you in the woods, you don't meditate. You need to be a warrior. You need the physical to come out.
Yeah.
Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. But you don't need that to come out every time you, hear something that's unsavory. So you have to know who's driving the car and at what times, and you have to deploy these parts of your nature instead of like let them autopilot you.
So I literally was feeling you. Everything you were saying, I was like picking myself apart, which I think was good, because this is exactly why we're having this conversation.
Nice.
To learn and to kind of navigate this. What are some of the issues on why it's a problem to let one drive more than the others?
Yeah. So if you're head heavy, you probably love mathematics, science, I always call it STEMBIF: science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, and finance. Love it. Love it. But you probably struggle in relationships because you're hyper rational and no one else is, and you don't have any friends. I'm kidding. And if you do have friends, they're engineers. I'm joking. All right. So what are the pros and cons of each? Just the pros of the head heavy is you're very intelligent. You make good decisions typically. The problem is you don't have enough courage to actually do things that are way outside your comfort zone. If you're heart heavy, you are really good at connecting with people and connecting with yourself, and you're very creative, but you probably are off the rails very often. And you have trouble strategizing for your future. If you are soul heavy, you are super aligned and fulfilled. You're very present, but you don't reach your full potential. And the reason why is because you don't deploy your warrior. You're probably so centered that nothing pisses you off enough to get off your A and like really make a change, right?
Yeah.
So the head heavy and heart heavy people, well, I'll use the warrior, the physical. The warrior is super powerful. It's like I deploy my warrior in the gym because I'm not going to hurt the weights. And you don't want to deploy the warrior in your intimate relationship. You want to deploy the warrior in the gym. And that's really what it comes down to, is like the warrior is really good at getting things done. Really, I mean, you'll get so much done, but it doesn't work that smart. It's got an ego, and you're going to tear your knee or your Achilles because you're too in the zone.
Mm.
And so you need all of these to have a say, and it's sort of like the round table. I'll do this right now. My spiritual side wants me to be centered and very wise on this podcast and to love everyone equally. And I'm almost saying it bad, like it's a bad thing. That is wonderful. Okay. And you got me connected to my spiritual side with that breath work that we did at the beginning. My warrior is like, F that. Don't care. Like, get this done. We got to be off here in 45 minutes. Let's go to the gym. My mental side is picking all this apart and trying to understand and study myself, others in the world. My emotional side wants to stay connected with you and build rapport and make sure that your listeners don't hate me. The truth of the matter is there's strengths and weaknesses to each one. And the true leader who is self-led can deploy whichever one they want. And you'll notice I'll dance in between them. Like, I can bring out the warrior if I want to. I can bring out the analytical engineer. I can bring out the spiritual connected one. And I can bring out the one that wants to connect and communicate well with others.
So as a visual learner, this really helps me to picture these four separate characters in a car and saying,
Nice.
all right, it's your turn to drive.
Yeah.
Except for when you were talking about the physical, I'm like, I'm heavy on the physical, but it's more on my weight side now.
You funny. Well, so everyone has a bottleneck and a constraint, right? So you obviously are very heart driven, right? And then soul, and then mind, and then body. And I'm not making that wrong, but your bottleneck is the potential, like the warrior, like the animal can come out and manifest itself through something physically. And everyone has a bottleneck. I do too. Right. So for me, it's probably I overuse my warrior. You might underuse yours. I could be wrong. Maybe
I definitely do not use the warrior.
Okay, fair.
Often.
Yeah. And maybe you're afraid of it, or maybe it's underdeveloped. I don't know. The point is every human being, including me, the one you feed wins. They're all cooperating and competing. I think immaturity is their competing. Maturity is their cooperating. And you can proactively feed them. Right, so meditation would be feeding the spiritual. Crying during a meaningful movie would be feeding the heart. Going to the gym would be feeding the physical.
Yeah.
And then reading a intellectually stimulating book would be feeding the mental. And so if you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to feed all of them, and you have to deploy them. They're like tools in your tool belt that you can deploy.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's really useful, really, really great. I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier. I know we talked a little bit briefly about your biological father, and you mentioned your stepfather or second family, third family. There are a lot of things that I think people don't know, that they have grief and that it's not being processed or such. Now, with the wounds that you have had regarding these relationships, how do you reckon a wound you never got to feel in real time, like when you were younger?
Yeah.
Or now as an adult, when you understand things better, how do you reckon, like, how does that specific kind of loss shape your identity, like as a man and as a leader?
Awesome. Great questions, man.
Thanks.
So not easy questions, but that if they were easy, they wouldn't be great, right?
Yeah.
So I got a therapist several years ago. And my fear, I've always been, I used to hide this. I'll preface this. So we all live in two worlds. We live in the real world and the social world. The real world the social world is the wedding photos. The real world is the actual marriage. The social world is the Instagram account. The real world is the bank account. The social world is your reputation in high school. The real world is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. So in high school, we all get it wrong. We care about the social world more than the real world. Hopefully we wake up from that nightmare, because that's a terrible game to play. The reason I tell everyone this is because some people are beasts in the real world and they hide it in the social world.
Mm.
And other people, those are the people that are fearful of success, fearful of shining, fearful of being too much, what I call the too muchers.
Mm.
That used to be me. Social coward. Just dim, 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 stay small, fit in, fit in, fit in. Don't let anyone know, don't let anyone know. And then shine in these weird ways when it's like when it's appropriate, straight A's, like that kind of thing. Okay, some people are beasts in real life, dim in the social world. Other people are actually very, very meek and weak behind the scenes, and then they puff up in the social world to pretend they're strong, right?
Yeah.
I always say, think of someone who's a pufferfish. Think of someone who pretends to have level 10 self-belief. Why would someone with level 10 self-belief have level 2 goals? It's not real. So the reason I'm telling you this is because I was so fearful that when I got a therapist that I was going to lose my edge. Because drive for me was my favorite thing about myself, even though I kind of, my intensity, my tenacity, and my drive and my grit, I would kind of hide socially. I don't anymore, obviously, but I used to. And so I was so afraid that if I healed from my traumatic adverse past, and it's way more than what we've said on this podcast, and most of it I don't even want to talk about publicly necessarily, but like I thought if I healed, I would be lazy.
Mm.
I was so afraid to lose my drive, my edge, right?
Yeah.
It got way bigger. It got way freaking bigger, right? When it comes to drive, some people have a candle, some people have a, house fire, some people have a bonfire, some people have the sun. And I was so afraid that my candle was going to be like smaller and smaller and smaller as I healed from my painful past. And it got way freaking bigger. So I tell you that because you said, how do you heal and reconcile the pain from your past? I think I ran from it for a long time. And then the sort of Lion King metaphor happened where it's like, okay, I got to go back to Pride Rock and I got to face my past.
Yeah.
And this Hakuna Matata stuff has to go. I got to stop boozing. I got to stop drinking and I got to stop partying and I got to start owning who I am and I got to go back and face my past. Because for me, these big goals and dreams of, straight A's and all that, that was easy. That was comfort zone. What is out of my comfort zone is facing my past. Going back and looking at my dad's death and, facing some of the bullies from my past and, messaging my stepdad on Facebook Messenger. I haven't seen him, but I talked to him. So these kinds of things, everybody's afraid of one of two things. You're either afraid of relationships and you're afraid your heart's going to get hurt, or you're afraid of failure. The people who are fearful of success, they are people who know that they're great if they really lean into it. They know they're going to be very successful, but they're afraid they're going to lose all their friends and family if they really dial it up. Okay, that's the smaller percentage of the population. Some people are fearful that they're average and they're afraid of looking average. And ironically and paradoxically, they need to face that they're average so that they can actually work on getting better. That's the fixed mindset versus growth mindset thing. And the only reason I know all this is because I coached 7,211 coaching sessions with people from all over the world. You said 12,000. Coaching, training, and podcasting is 12,000. Just one-on-one coaching is only 7,211.
It's still a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of studying the human condition and people from all different industries, all different backgrounds, all different cultures, all over the world. I have 38 people right now on my roster. Very grateful. And it was mindset coaching and peak performance coaching and fitness coaching and business consulting. So it's been a lot of different modalities and you see these patterns. And so the healing thing, back to your original question. How do you reconcile and heal from your past? The way you do it is you identify what you're actually fearful of. And everyone's fearful. My joke is there's two types of people in the world. There's people that are fearful and insecure, and there's liars. But here's the thing. We are not all fearful of the same thing. That is like a really important thing.
Yeah.
We are all fearful, but we are not fearful of the same thing. And what we are most insecure and fearful of determines our direction in life. So if you're afraid to be broke, you're doing everything you can to try not to be broke. If you're afraid to be alone, you're doing everything you can to try to fit in socially. Yeah. If you're afraid that you're too great, then you're dialing down around others. If you're afraid you're not good enough, then you're pretending to be smarter than you are or better than you are or whatever. So all of us are kind of like, we have to break ourselves free of this in order to heal. And the only way to do that is to identify which of those you're fearful of. Last piece here, I call it the box that we put ourselves in. Some people are afraid of failure, that's the floor. Some people are afraid of success, that's the ceiling. And some people are afraid of unfair judgment, which is the walls. Which one of those resonates most with you? And this is not what you think you're afraid of consciously. This is what you're actually afraid of subconsciously and unconsciously. It can be very hard to face that. And basically, based on your peer group, no one wants to be a failure in the eyes of their peers, but no one also wants to be like, if all your peers make 6 figures, you don't want to make 30K a year, but you definitely don't want to make 3 million a year and get ostracized either. Right.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the walls are judgment. And that's based on people who feel like they're so different. They're kind of on their own island and they feel unfairly judged. And they're so afraid of being seen inaccurately. They're so afraid to let anyone close enough to actually hurt them. And so those are the 3 biggest fears: fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of judgment. Everyone has all 3, but everyone has one that's huge. Mine is fear of success. Like, I am not at all afraid to not be smart enough or not be good enough. And that will trigger people who are, for sure. Like, oh yeah, I bet. They think I'm lying. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I'm not afraid of that at all, actually. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you every inadequacy I have, and I'm not insecure about it. What I am insecure about is telling you I've exercised every day for 1,556 days, that I've run a mile a day every day for 88 days. And if it even seems like I'm not insecure about that, it's because I've worked on this so freaking much.
Yeah.
Whereas the past me would have hidden that and never said it because I would have been too afraid to come off arrogant.
Yeah. I'm reflecting now on what I'm insecure on and everything you're saying, because again, you've given me a great visual to see the 3 different fears and the walls and the ceiling and the floor.
We're all in a box.
And I'm like, definitely, like, for me, I think it's the walls, because one of the things, I am overweight. I'm never really cared for exercising. So I've always feared that people would think I'm not a successful person because I don't care about my weight, which I hear a lot of gurus or leaders
Yes.
or voice and thought leaders talking about that. So I will say I have started working on it this year for the
Nice.
first time ever. I'm
So your
averaging.
fear is being seen inaccurately.
Yes,
Yes. Yep.
definitely.
Yeah. That. So if your fear was of success, you would be so it takes courage to break out of all 3.
Mm,
And courage is like everything. So, and courage requires you to know which one you're afraid of.
yeah.
Because you can't have courage in the right direction if you don't know what you're actually afraid of. Because courage is not running away from it, it's running toward it.
Yeah.
So I have to have the courage to say certain things that I've not wanted to say, like, the exercise for 4 years and all that stuff. You have to have the courage to be seen inaccurately. Yep. And it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And then vulnerability on the other side of that is sitting in the discomfort of being seen inaccurately.
Yeah.
Because some people will judge you for your weight, and some people will judge you unfairly for your weight, and they will draw conclusions about you based on your weight that might not be true. And you have to own all of that.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It does, but you got to face it. So
what are you going to do? Stay quiet forever,
Yeah,
not be on camera, like do a
Yeah.
podcast like that's not on YouTube, right? So
Yeah.
we're all held back by one of these 3. We're all held back by all 3, but we have one really big one that drives us.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You talk a lot about fulfillment over happiness, and I just want to ask, is there a version of fulfillment that becomes kind of like a trap, like always striving for meaning that keeps you from ever just being at peace, like where you are?
Yeah.
Just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, it's going to be tough. All right. So the old me would have said, yeah, no, it's, you can arrive and not strive. The new me has to have the courage to say the science. So neurobiologically, and we're all at different extremes of this. All right. So this is a blanket statement that does apply to all of us, but not to the same intensity. All right. And I'm also an extreme version of this. So understand that when I say it.
Okay.
So I haven't taken a day off in 11 years. Now, normally people say that's terrible for you. And I say, no, that's terrible for you. I actually want to live that way. That is how I'm wired. And this whole striving versus arriving thing, always striving, never arriving. if you look at the neuroscience and the evolution of it, we all have a different temperament. We all have a different tenacity, intensity, self-belief, risk aversion, all these different things. Big Five, Hexaco, you can do all these personality, DISC assessment, there's a bunch. At the end of the day, what you come to realize is that everyone needs to strive a certain percentage of the time, and everyone needs to be present a certain percentage of the time. And where your focus is, so right now, I say learn from the past, enjoy the present, and build toward a bigger, better, brighter future. But which one do you think I'm most focused on?
Future.
Hands down. And you know that because I'm this intense, right? Anyone watching or listening is sitting there going, does this dude ever chill? And that's okay, right? Yes, I do, but not as much as most people. Mm-hmm. And some, like Michael Phelps, had a different temperament than Joe Schmo. And that's okay. Tom Brady, another example. These are extreme versions of the human condition. You don't have to like them, by the way. The Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant, Serena Williams, Michael Phelps, like I use them as an example because they're an extreme example of achievers that had a certain temperament and goal orientation that most people consider bad for their mental health. There are some people who actually, that's not bad for their mental health. I know that Michael Phelps did a whole documentary on the weight of gold and his mental health challenges, so maybe he was off on that. I don't know. What I do know is that striving is the human condition. And that being present all the time. The only reason I'm saying this is because most of the industry, the personal development industry, the gurus, as you've mentioned, they all talk about the present. They all talk about being in the present. They all talk about staying present. They all talk about, they call it a gift. They call it a present because it's a gift. Like the truth, if you study the research, is that the most successful people on earth are future oriented. They are envisioning and visualizing the future constantly. They are always reverse engineering and strategizing the future. They are not present as much as they come off or they think. When they're in the game and on the court, they are present. But when they get off the court, what are they doing? They're watching film. They're strategizing about their training program. They're redesigning their existence. They're making sure they're goal-oriented. They're making sure they're measuring things. So I think that this whole be present thing, it gives the wrong impression because it's not accurate. It depends on your goal. So this is what I say to people. If you have more self-belief, you'll have bigger goals. The bigger your goals are, the more necessity you'll have and the higher standards you'll have to be. The bigger your goals are, the less you're going to get to be present. However, you do have to drop into flow, the zone. So right now I'm present and in the zone, but that doesn't mean I'm always present. You know, I'm not like walking in nature, like, like I'm pretty dialed in. Now, my goals require that. That doesn't mean you can't walk in nature. That doesn't mean you can't meditate. That doesn't mean you shouldn't ever be present. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do yoga or breath work. I'm all for that stuff. But most people are convinced that they're supposed to be satisfied when evolution doesn't like satisfaction. That.
Okay. That's a lot to unpack. But I think this kind of, so it sounds like based off the goals you have, where you're trying to be, that's what changes whether you're present or in the future.
It changes the percentage.
The percentage.
Yeah. So if I wanted to be, if I had a temperament where I was more satisfied with what is, like everyone can think of the person who's just like not complacent, but they're content.
Sure.
Okay. That person can be fulfilled with lower goals than me. And so everyone has to assess for themselves what level of future orientation they need in order to be fulfilled. Fulfillment is a byproduct. It's not the goal. Fulfillment is a byproduct of meaningful progress toward meaningful goals in alignment with your core values and temperament. I've tried to chill, man. It doesn't work for me. People are like, Bezos, he owns Amazon. Like, why wouldn't he just buy a beach? And like that, he would drive him nuts.
Yeah.
He's not interested. He didn't get to that level by being lazy. He is fulfilled by, and again, I don't know Bezos. I don't even necessarily like him. I just know the type.
Yeah.
I went to school with some of the types, and the purpose of life is not to sit on a beach. The purpose of life is to do all you can with all you have and to grow and contribute in alignment with your greatest self. And the truth is, we are not all Great Danes. There's 500 different breeds of dog. Some people are Great Danes, some people are Chihuahuas, some people are Dalmatians, some people are German Shepherds. And that's okay. We're not supposed to be one type of human. Different cultures, different countries, different ethnicities, different genetics, different temperaments. But the principle remains for all of us. We all have to find our own sweet spot of striving and arriving.
I like that a lot. And I think too, the talking about goals and how we think about what percentage we want to use. I want to ask you specifically about you wiping out $84,000 in student debt in a year, in 1 year.
How did you find that out?
That's like elite financial discipline. I just want to tell you that. And especially because I envision young adults listening to the show, people my brother's age, my age, our age. Right now, the way the country's in shape, some people are having difficulties with money
Of course.
and finances and the debt. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And
How did you figure that? How did you find that information?
I had a little help. But
Okay.
the thing is, when what does someone do when that proves their capability is also the thing that's killing their soul?
Yeah. Okay. So the debt thing. Okay. So this is something that I've only talked about recently. So whatever research you did, this had to be recent. The reason why I'm shirking is because the way that I paid off that debt included gambling.
Love that.
It also included blackjack and counting cards. Okay. So remember, this was before my car accident. So my car accident was my mortality moment 11 years ago. I'm 37 now. I was 26 then. And that was like when I realized that reaching my full potential is what really matters to me. And I don't just mean in one narrow area. Pre-26, I grew up in a very difficult environment for many reasons that we won't get into. And I was lost and found. And what I mean by that is professional development, LinkedIn cover letter, corporate. Like I did very well with that, but I was kind of lost in terms of not facing my past. Okay.
Yeah.
Amongst the being somewhat lost, not all those who wander are lost. No, most of them are. Okay. People who wander are lost. And that's okay. We all are lost at some point.
Yeah.
And the quicker you own that you're lost, the quicker you get found. It's this paradox, right? But anyways, so I was lost, and I would, Mohegan Sun was something that I would frequent. And they have these $5 blackjack tables there. And I calculated in my mind that they're not going to hire a pit boss to watch to make sure no one's counting cards, because they have to pay the pit boss more than what someone would make, most likely counting cards at a $5 table. I used to joke, no one has low enough self-worth to count cards at a $5 table. Okay. So if you've never counted cards, it's very simple. And there's a lot of different sophistications of the way you can do it. But there's 8 decks, 52 cards, 416 cards, 52 cards per deck, 52 times 8. If the deck is hot, it means there's a lot of face cards in the deck, and the dealer is most likely going to bust if they're showing a 6 or whatever. So you can double your bet, and you can double down. There's a lot of, anyone can research this. It's not rocket science in my opinion. And these dealers at the $5 tables are really slow. The ones at the $100 tables are like, so you can't count, it's like harder to count. These dealers are super slow. And so anyways, I was able to do that. So a lot of the debt was paid off with that. Okay. That said, you wanted to talk about younger people paying off debt and financial discipline. It obviously was a little less disciplined than you thought, but the truth of the matter is I just had this goal to be debt free, and I locked in, and I've always been kind of that way. Yeah. And I've always been very numbers driven. So I had $84,000 worth of debt, and I wanted to be debt free, and I wanted to pay it off in a single year. And I was able to do it through my corporate salary, parts of it, and through obviously gambling. When it comes to the last part of the question that you asked me, so number one, young people, financial challenges. I have my 7 pillars of finance that I use. I can give them to you here. It doesn't really matter if you don't execute against them. So I'm going to say this with a great assault. Knowledge is not power. Not anymore. AI can tell you a lot of answers. Behavior change is power. Okay. I always say to my clients, anyone can teach you how to lose weight. Almost no one can get you to actually do it. I'm the person who studies behavior change who can get you to actually do it and hold you accountable. So these are the 7 pillars. We'll go quick with it. Gross income. This is the total in before taxes, before fees, before everything. Okay? That's gross income. The next one is take home. Take home is what actually hits your bank account after whoever's paying you takes out whatever. The next one is total expenses. This is what you spend from your bank account and or credit cards and or loans, whatever you spend, total expenses. The one after that is cash on hand. That's what's left over after you spend. Cash on hand, liquid capital, working capital. It's the amount in your checking account currently, meaning it's liquid. You don't have to sell anything to get it. So far we have gross income, take home, total expenses, net income, and then you have cash on hand. Then you have total assets and total debts. I usually do debts before assets. Total debts is what do you owe, and total assets is what do you own above $1,000. Now, I just gave you a crash course on finance. Those are the 7 fundamentals that matter. Earn more, spend less, invest the difference. We can do a whole course on this. At the end of the day, almost no one can do it, especially not in the 21st century, because consumer data is so prevalent now that they can get you. They know how to tap your mind. They know everything you click on. I'm an engineer, okay? I'm a computer engineer. This is not rocket science. They have consumer data, and I don't mean they as in like some people up in the sky. I mean like Amazon and all these other companies. Yes. And at the end of the day, who do you blame? The individual who can't stop spending money or the company they're supposed to market to you, right? So there's a good side to this too. It's like, I was just thinking about that book and now I get to buy it. There it is, right? Yeah. The point is, it's very hard in the 21st century not to spend money because we have 3-click satisfaction, what Steve Jobs called 3-click satisfaction, at our fingertips at all times. So from this phone, I can buy anything I want from anywhere in the world. And back in the day when I was a kid, you couldn't. Right? So yep. It's really cool. It's a superpower. I can also run a company from this phone, but it comes with this downside, this underbelly. And I think that's why self-discipline and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex it's the willpower muscle of the brain. It needs to be super big in the 21st century in order for you not to be an absolute hot mess.
Yeah. I want to go back now to the dark side of personal development a little bit.
Okay.
We were briefly talking about gurus and how things are. Yep. You've corrected me. You've done 7,000 plus hours of coaching, and all that time, have you seen people use personal development as an escape, like a way to feel productive about their pain without actually healing?
Yes. It's called productive avoidance. As a matter of fact, I actually, not only did I do this for a time, but I also think the majority of the industry is built on it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I actually think that's why my podcast, so we do very well. I'm grateful. Like, we have 1.3 million listens. So it's not like we're unsuccessful by any means, especially in business. I think we do very well in business, but we're not like viral. And you can tell why. I mean, none of this content's going to go viral. No one wants to hear this, right? So they need to hear it, but they don't want to hear it. And Kevin and I, my business partner, what'd you say?
My inner voice is saying, not with that attitude.
Yeah, exactly. But brother, like, the gold is buried where you least want to dig. I mean, most of YouTube is just like mental candy.
Yeah.
I mean, the horse shit on YouTube is mind blowing, right? It's like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's just a bunch of nonsense that's going to make you dumber. It's not good. And there's a Jim Collins book that just came out. Jim Collins wrote Good to Great, Great by Choice, Built to Last, all these best business books ever written. Jim Collins. Look, you can look it up. I think it's unbelievable. He just came out with a book. What's it called? What It Takes. I just started reading it. What to Make of a Life. He spent 12 years with 28 people researching for this book.
Wow.
That's a real researched book. Most of these books are like, girl wash your face. And like, honestly, it's anecdotal horse shit. And it's not rooted in any real research or science. And that's why I don't want to be a talking head. That's why I mentioned the 7,211 coaching sessions, because I'm not like, these are not my opinions. I have metrics and habits and data on every client. And I have backups and backups of all of this from 11 years. And anonymously, I will analyze that data. I have a lot of data on behavior change. I have a lot of data on goals and metrics and habits and skills and identity and how many people actually achieve their goals. And it's very alarmingly low. Like the large majority of human beings, statistically speaking, do not set clear, compelling goals that they achieve. Very few people set and achieve goals. The majority of the population, statistically speaking, is stumbling upon success and then finding a way to stay. Like most people are not reverse engineering their ideal life and then doing seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, quarters, years, decades, and then reverse engineering it all the way back to the second. And I understand why. It's very difficult. Did I answer your question whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, you did, and then you even touched on other things that I found interesting as well. So thank you for that. I did want to ask you about Next Level University. You were bringing up your business partner before I cut you off.
Kev.
Yes.
What was I talking about with Kev?
Basically, I was asking you if there was a way that people were using personal development as an escape or a way to feel productive.
Yeah. So Kevin and I, we have Next Level University, Next Level U, pun intended. And I used to want to bring personal development to the masses. That was my dream. What you'll never learn in school, but desperately need to know. Goals, metrics, vulnerability, courage, humility, all the stuff we didn't learn in school, productivity, time management, finance, like all these things that we desperately need to know, but we're not really taught in school. Because I got straight A's in high school. I went to one of the best colleges, best engineering schools in the world for graduate school. And then I got my master's, and I didn't learn about vulnerability till I was 29 from Brene Brown. So some of this stuff is gold, and Brene Brown's stuff is actually well researched. So while there's a lot of gurus that we laugh about gurus, like some of it is actually very solid, and it's very hard to sift through the nonsense, especially if you're naive and young.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when you need it most. But going back to Kevin and I, Next Level University, I used to want to, everybody should listen and all that. I was naive. I actually think that my podcast, our podcast, Kevin and I's podcast, is only good for a certain type of person who has what we call a high willingness score. A willingness score is based on inner humility and the necessity to actually change. Because what I try to say to my clients is you are not successful because you don't believe enough in what you already believe. You're not more successful because you have massive blind spots. And that's true for everyone. So I think the internet has become overly validating, overly affirming. You know, it's all going to work out. No, it's not. No, it's not. Certainly wasn't in my childhood. It might go horribly wrong. It probably will. And despite that, you can get smarter and stronger when you look at all your inadequacies in the face and then work on them. And even then, it might still be atrocious. So I know it sounds very pessimistic, but it's accurate and honest and it's real. And as a kid, I wanted to believe in like everybody can change the world and all that kind of stuff. And you learn over time that that's just not reality. The naive gets ripped out from under you. And then you seem really cynical when in reality, you're just accurate. And so what I would say about Next Level University is it's not viral content. It's not ever what you want to hear, but I do think it is what you will benefit from hearing in real life.
And you guys do an episode a day, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Episode a day is that's a very disciplined output schedule as well, especially in podcasting. I do want to combine this next question. I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
You and Kevin both grew up without fathers,
Mm-hmm.
and you both found each other, built something massive together. Do you think that shared wound is part of what makes your partnership work?
Without a question.
And then you also started the Next Level Hope Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
which is to transform Father's Day for children of single parents.
Yeah.
A day that was painful probably for both of you growing up or different for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like to turn a wound into a ritual of healing for strangers?
Best. That's how you alchemize paint. You make it matter. Yeah. So I appreciate it. I mean, it's very, I have this star of belonging that everybody wants, which is seen, understood, appreciated, valued, and celebrated. And as someone who obviously has felt not that in the past, that's a lot of my wounding. I really feel very seen here. You know, like even bringing that stuff up, I appreciate it. Because I don't know, I think everybody's got a family, right? And nobody cares about my goals. I do. But to me, it's like people care more about what you're doing this weekend than your dreams, right? And for me, that sucks because I feel so unseen in that. Like, are you seriously asking me about my car? Like, I don't care about that. I care. Ask me about my Next Level Hope Foundation. Ask me about my charity work. Like, ask me about my goddamn mission and my business, right?
Yeah.
And again, so obviously I felt very unseen. But that said, thank you for asking. Kevin and I had a similar core wound. So we didn't know this at the time, but we spent Father's Day together because everyone else was with their fathers, and we were like, well, it's a podcast because we got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's a sad day. Let's connect. And then eventually we started hosting. The Next Level Hope Foundation hosts 2 events. It hosts a Father's Day event, which is coming up in like 25 days or something like that, 24 days. And it's for kids. It started out with just boys without fathers, and then we expanded it. And we do a holiday event too. So 2 events a year. We rent out the whole YMCA and we make a day special that's typically sad. And it's been really cool. I mean, we literally play sports and eat pizza and do arts and crafts with kids all day. It's really cool. I like to play basketball, so we play knockout and all that stuff. But anyways, so yes, the core wound was low self-worth. We didn't know that. So Kevin always jokes. He said, I had low self-belief and low self-worth. Alan just had low self-worth. And so I'll define them for people. So self-belief, also known as self-efficacy, if you research this, is your belief and certainty in your own ability to create external outcomes in advance. So like, I said I was going to get straight A's in high school, and then I went and did it. That is self-belief. But that's not self-worth. Self-belief is I can build the castle. Give me enough time, I can do it. I know I can do it. And remember, people can fake that, so be careful. Self-worth is I'm going to protect and honor the castle, and I'm not going to let my friends spill beer on the carpet, right? I'm not going to invite the Trojan horse in to destroy it. And so low self-worth was my issue, and still is something I work on today. Everybody struggles with one or the other. Kevin and I had a common core wound, which is low self-worth, and we didn't understand why, but one of the reasons is because we didn't have fathers and had some abandonment issues. So my stepdad left when I was 14, took his entire extended family with him, never seen or spoken to a single one of them since, except for on Facebook Messenger. And Kevin didn't meet his biological father until he was 27 years old, until Kevin was 27. And so we both kind of met in our 20s. We grew up together, obviously, but we weren't close. We were a little bit close in middle school, and then he hated me in high school. And then we reconnected in our mid-20s.
Yeah.
I call it after our quarter-life crisis. My car accident, he had suicidal ideation that he's open about. And then we built this thing from the rock bottom was the foundation we built this from.
Well, from where I stand, it's very beautiful to see the work that you're doing, and just the fact that you were, taking something where a lot of people would have given up or quit and turned it into something so powerful, and being there for kids who don't have fathers. That's freaking awesome, man. I really love that, and I genuinely am proud to have you on here and talking about your story and everything. I have one last question for you. We do a tradition here on the show where I have AI listening into our conversation, and it generates like a completely random question based off everything we spoke about. And I'm going to generate that right now. But the trick here is I'm also going to draw an emotion, and I want you to tie that emotion to the question.
Okay.
So if it's like, what's your favorite color? And the emotion is joy, then talk about why that color makes you happy.
Wow, you better have some really good speakers on here, man. These are not easy challenges.
These are,
you have like a red button, boop, abort. I'm joking. And I want you to tie that back into everything we talked about in the beginning, and I want you to make it land for the listener and me. I'm joking. I'm being playful.
All right, let's see. This is actually quite funny for me because the emotion that I drew for you is grit and
Nice.
resilience.
Nice.
Which is quite accurate, I would say, for who I'm speaking to. And then the question is, if your career was a painting, what would it look like? And who would the artist have been if you have an artist that is recognizable? If not, what kind of style of art would it have been?
It would be overlooking the ocean, and the horizon in the distance would be a sunrise, huge sun. huge sunrise. No, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to the night sky, and I'm going to change it to the brightest star in the sky. And the Lord of the Rings quote that I loved is, "Let it be a light for you in dark places when all other lights go out." The light of Valandia, or whatever it is. And I wear a North Star around my neck, actually, this North Star. And believe it or not, growing up, my mom called my sister Cake, and she called me Shine. And I didn't learn this until way later, but I realized that I was fearful of shining. But I think, and there's that quote, "It's not our darkness, but our light that most frightens us." I think that actually doesn't resonate with everybody, but it does resonate with the people that are afraid of success. And so shine as bright as possible, and hopefully it can be seen in even the darkest places as a sort of lighthouse, a guide. And I used to be sort of a hero that would try to, save you from the storm by bringing my ship in the storm, and we both would, crumble amongst the rocks, martyrdom. And I think through increasing my self-respect and self-worth over time, I think I have learned to, okay, here's what I believe will be of help, and I can't save you, only you can save you. And so the painting would be Leonardo da Vinci, because whoa, and the painter. And that would be the painting. It would be the night sky, overlooking the ocean on the bottom, and the night sky, and the brightest star in the sky, guiding someone, maybe the North Star guiding them home.
I love that. Thank you for painting that visual. I forgot who said this, but I heard it once, that even then, like, if you turn off all the lights in a room and it's completely pitch dark, and make this room the size of a stadium, even a small match can show a lot of light for those listening who are in darkness. There's always a light out there if you look out there. So thank you for reminding us to check our Northern Star, and to lighting up the path for all the people that you've added a light to. And thank you for being here, for coming on the show. I'm very grateful for our conversation today. And I always end the podcast with one last thing. If you had a message to your 26-year-old Alan, the one right after you're sitting in that car after that accident, and what would you want that version of you to know? Not like the human truth that you've only earned by living through everything that came after. What would you want him to know?
Yeah, it would be, your biggest bottleneck is social courage. You believe in people so much, and I admire that, but you need to learn how to be more discerning with your time and effort, and you need to have the courage to sail away from people that are just not interested in climbing Mount Everest with you. And you need to face all of the pain from your past in order to slingshot you into the future.
Wow. Thank you, Alan. Where can people find you? Where can people listen to your podcast? Where can whoever's hungry for this behavioral changes that they need to make, the mindset that they want to change, where can people find your work?
So we have nextleveluniverse.com, spelled just like it sounds, nextleveluniverse.com. The person who has nextleveluniversity.com is charging way too much money and is a dingus. No, but Next Level University, the podcast, if you resonate with this, and you haven't turned this off by now or hated me yet, playfully, then you're going to love NLU. NLU is the place you go to look at yourself, others, in the world, and your blind spots, and to figure out how to be more successful in health, wealth, and love. We call it fitness, finance, and family. So if you want to build a great family, if you want to build great wealth and finances, and if you want to be fit, super fit, then that's the place to go. And that's Next Level University. It's a podcast. It's on YouTube. I recommend YouTube. I do. I think, we're not necessarily huge on there because we started with audio, but I do think that there's some really fun, compelling versions of the content in our facial expressions and stuff. And we've worked pretty hard on bringing the production value up. We do an episode every day. So it's 0.1% improvement, success and personal development in your pocket every single day from anywhere on the planet, completely free. No matter how hard your past has been, no matter how hard your present is, you have a spotless future. And you can start rebuilding right now to achieve your goals and dreams. That's what we are. That's what we believe in. But if you're not ready for harsh feedback, if you're not ready to look in the mirror and point back at you and take accountability and responsibility, because if your life is not where you want it to be, it may be a lot of things outside of you, but you have no control over that. So it's going to be control the controllables, look in the mirror, see and do all you can with all you have, and that's NLU. Yeah, next level you, pun intended.
I love that. We'll definitely be checking you out and having all your links available below in the YouTube video. I choked on my own saliva listening to you talk earlier, so sorry about that. But I'll definitely be linking you and making sure that people have a way to find you. Alan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining us today. And for everybody listening, as always, don't lose faith, lose fear, peace, and let your heart be light. We'll see you next time.